Hello Wolfpack, I wanted to look at Syscoin today. Syscoin is a coin we've been keeping an eye on briefly on Twitter, right? We've done a few posts here and there, you would have seen them. Last post I did on Syscoin would have been October, and we did a post on Syscoin at around 30 cents, 32 cents, somewhere in that region. I looked at it briefly because someone in my Telegram group suggested I took a look at it. I did take a look at it, and I remember it from 2018. I remember looking at what it did in 2018 specifically, and it was an interesting coin. It's been around for a while. Off the top of my head, I think it's been around since 2014. We can fact check that right now. Yeah, 2014, it's been around. And from memory, what this coin aims to do is it aims to take some of the good parts from Bitcoin, some of the good parts from Ethereum, and essentially make a better version, right? There's lots of coins out there that do that. I'm not going to be the best person for you to ask about the fundamentals for Syscoin. I really don't know too much about it. What I do know is that it's still popular. It's been around for a while. It's tried and tested. It's got that secure, it's got the security that comes with age. And volume certainly hasn't been a problem, right? It hasn't died off at all. I mean, volume in the last cycle was around 20 million at the peak, and in this cycle, just in May here in this miniature altcoin season, we reached that easily 20 million, and we're currently reaching 20 million to 30 million right now. So it's definitely stayed alive, and I don't know whether that's because the fundamentals are good or whether people just like the coin because it's good to trade. It has died out twice pretty much in bear markets, which is as expected, right? That's obviously as expected. Not many coins do that well during bear markets, and Syscoin is no exception. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. On the longer term scale, it is uptrending, but it definitely is a coin you want to be trading in bull markets, and you wouldn't really want to be holding this for a bear market because it doesn't really prove to us that it's going to do particularly well, right? But as for current price action, I wouldn't expect it to as well. But as for current price action, we have the weekly chart here on Syscoin. Up until about we don't really have the data from 2014, but nothing really happened, right? It was basically just a flat line. It started to gain popularity really in 2017, and that's when Syscoin made its moves, right, from around a fraction of a cent really, all the way up to around $1 by the bull market top on January the 8th, or that week, right? We're on the weekly chart, and we can see that Syscoin is doing something quite similar. It's actually pretty much the king of W formations to a certain extent. You wouldn't notice it, but they're very hidden, but they are there, right? We have a W formation here that moved us to the upside. We have a W formation here that moved us to the upside, and we're currently seeing some sort of W formation that's probably going to move us to the upside as well. So it is a coin that I like to look at, and the reason why I have looked at it for a while is because of these W formations that continuously play out. So we're excited to see what that's going to lead to. Let me just close this tab quickly. There we go. No more notifications there. We're excited to see what it's going to lead to, and that's why I'm making this video, right? What we can do on the weekly chart, and I'm not going to go by my original prediction model. My original prediction model on Syscoin that I apply to most altcoins is, if Bitcoin reaches my 113k price prediction, assuming it reached 64k at the same time at the same time Syscoin reached 92 cents, we can add on around 130% to account for plus 50% returns for altcoins, and then obviously extrapolating the data from Bitcoin. It might make sense to some of you, might not. For me personally, it makes sense, and that would bring us to a price point of around $2.13 for Syscoin. A lot of you guys would say that's conservative, right? It reached $1 in the last cycle. I'm not going to count this massive wick. I don't think that's really relevant to count. It reached $1 in the last cycle. $2.14 is only about a 2x away, so from those prices, so it might seem conservative to some of you, but I like being conservative because stuff like what's happening with Bitcoin happens, right? Where we think it's going to go up and then it just crashes down. Right? I'd rather be conservative and have my price targets met than be optimistic and have them not met, and then I'm holding through a 4-year bear market, which Syscoin hasn't really proved to do too well in bear markets. So I'd rather be conservative, and even $2.14, in my personal opinion, isn't too conservative, right? That's a 4x from current prices. At some point, you have to realize that the cryptocurrency bias of these high returns is actually insane, right? A 4x is insane. Think about the stock market, any other financial market, getting a 4x would take years and years and years. So I'm thinking of 4x, I'm thinking $2.14, and that's coming from someone who knows very, very little about the fundamentals of Syscoin, all right? So I'm not really recommending you hold this coin, personally, because I'm not in a position to say that. So keep in mind, I'm just throwing out a number. What I can say is that I like Syscoin for swing trading. I'm a swing trader of Syscoin, just like with most coins, right? You don't have to love the fundamentals to be a swing trader. And I do like the fundamentals of Syscoin. I do like the technicals of Syscoin. What we did have here, similar to a lot of coins, is a a bit of a rounding bottom formation, cup and handle formation. We didn't really see much of a handle. We saw kind of a, I guess you could say horizontal handle. And then we broke to the upside, and that was good to see, and we've done that. And I guess we could say that this blue line here at 35 cents was the top part of a handle, and we've retested that on this move up, and we've headed to the upside. But ultimately, what I'm seeing right now on Syscoin is ascending channel formation, right? Like it or not, that is a bearish pattern that typically breaks to the downside. And I think that makes sense, right? I think that Bitcoin, thinking of Bitcoin right now, because obviously we're correlated to Bitcoin, and this is one of the reasons why I'm making the video on Syscoin, right? It's interesting because Syscoin is kind of acting in a way that is completely uncorrelated to Bitcoin right now. You'll notice that Bitcoin has been having a correction for the last week, or even more than that. And Syscoin has, in that time period, moved up from around the 40-cent region to the 60-cent region, 50-cent region. So it's moving up with haste. And if Bitcoin does drop down to 53K, I don't know if it's going to be able to keep up that movement. But right now it's doing quite well with Bitcoin in a bit of consolidation period. What I think is going to happen on Syscoin, and what is supported by some of the fundamentals and technicals, sorry, not the fundamentals, the technicals here, is the fact that, well, we have an ascending triangle formation, which we've been testing since around September. It is a rough one, but, Syscoin is known for having dramatic wicks. I mean, we just looked at the weekly chart. Look at this wick here in 2018 from around 16 cents all the way to $1.40 and then taken all the way back down. So I'm not really counting some of these wicks. They're a bit unreliable for Syscoin. It's a coin that does have these random wicks to the upside, but, so I still think we're in an ascending wedge formation. I think that we will break this formation to the downside. Whether we break it now or later in this month, or possibly into December, is the question really. But what we are seeing and supporting that we're going to break this to the downside is the fact that we do have a bearish divergence forming on the RSI. You can see we made a high here in the mid-November, and we're currently coming up, and we've made a new high as well. I don't know if we've topped out yet, but the point is the RSI is significantly lower than it was on this last high here. So regardless of where we top out, it's probably going to be a bearish divergence, unless we go all the way up to, $1. It's going to be a bearish divergence, and that kind of suggests to us that the buying momentum is slowing down in this current time period, and that is a typical pattern you see in ascending wedges, and that's why I think we're in an ascending wedge formation, because of that RSI bearish divergence, and also the fact that it just looks like an ascending wedge. So ascending wedges, I think 90% of the time, or even more, break to the downside. And so assuming we do have a downside break, there's two ways we can get this measurement. One of the ways is taking the sample size from the bottom of the first test of the wedge to the top of the first test of the wedge, and we can extrapolate that to a potential breakdown, and we'll extrapolate it here, and we can see that that's going to bring us to around, if we break down here at around December 20th, right, let's just bring it from here. It just makes sense because it brings us to a recent support zone here at around 35 cents. So the ascending triangle formation, ascending wedge formation, I'm not really speaking too well today. I've, not been sleeping too well with this current state of the market, but the ascending wedge formation is targeting around 35 cents. And I think that makes sense, considering the fact we have that bearish divergence and the fact we have this ascending wedge formation. Now, the VVPR is something interesting as well, because at around 35 cents, we have a crevice on the VVPR, which means below 35 cents, if we do wick below 35 cents, we'll get a large amount of buy orders that will eat it up very, very quickly, which suggests that 35 cents will be the bottom in any correction. 35 cents is currently about a 33 or 32% drop from current prices. That may seem extreme, right? And there's reason to believe that it might be too extreme, right? We could actually top out or bottom out a little bit higher than that. But you do have to remember that we were only trading at those prices literally, 2 weeks ago. So just because we've had this dramatic move up doesn't mean it's sustainable. I think we could retrace all the way down to 35 cents, but what I don't think is we're going to go below that region. I think it's possible we could go to 37 or 38. As you can see, this little spike on the VVPR would suggest that is a possibility, but 35 is ultimately what I'm looking at. And one of the other reasons I'm looking at 35 cents is because the 50-day SMA is in that region. Again, I said somewhere in that region, and the 50-day SMA is moving upwards. Currently, it is at 36 cents. So ultimately, anywhere from around 40 cents to 35 cents would be the bottom zone for Syscoin on the breakdown of this ascending triangle formation. So ascending wedge formation. So that's what I'm looking at, bottoming out on around the 50 SMA. We could actually do something like this where we bounce up a little bit, drop down, we bottom out on the 50 SMA, which by that point will be around there, and then we have some hard wicks down to 35 cents that get brought back up, and then we swing back to the upside for the altcoin season. That's what I think is likely for Syscoin, because we have to keep in mind that Syscoin is a coin that has typically shown us to perform in the altcoin season rather than in the Bitcoin season. So if you're of the opinion that the bull market is going to continue, you likely believe that Bitcoin is going to go a little bit higher first. And under that assumption, you would assume that altcoins will kind of have their time to shine after Bitcoin tops out. Hence, it would make sense for Syscoin to have this correction sooner rather than later. So I'm thinking in this month, possibly in December, and then January is going to be its time to shine for Syscoin and go to new all-time highs. Looking at the shorter term SMAs, we can also see we have a variety of SMAs that are covering us, in around that 35 to 40 cent region. We have the 26, the 100, and the 50 SMA in the 36 to 40 cent region, 35 to 40 cent region. And we also have, and we could bring that up right now, and I just bring this up, I haven't looked at this before, but what we do probably also have, let's delete one of these, we do probably also have the bull market support band. Yeah, we do, in that region as well. So the bull market support band is currently at 31 cents and it's heading upwards. So by the time we see that correction, that would likely be at around 35 cents. So look, the point of the matter is, and as I've said multiple times now, there is an abundance of support between the 40 cent and the 35 cent region. When we do correct, and I'm saying when, not if, because I think it's highly likely we will, when we do correct, that is probably going to be a good zone to pick up some Syscoin for a swing trade, in my personal opinion. Now, if we do by some, stroke of luck break to the upside of this ascending channel, it is possible, it's not likely. We're looking at a breakout, a clear breakout above the 60 cent region and daily closes above it, because we've seen these wicks. We saw a wick all the way up to 76 cents, but we retraced all the way back down to the mid 40s, so it didn't mean anything, right? We need to see daily closes above it, but I think ultimately we're going to be going down here on Syscoin, not immediately, because we've just flipped 49 cents for support, but definitely within the next few weeks, in my personal opinion. Now, on the weekly chart, and I've just outlined this on the weekly chart, and I've just got into my price prediction for Syscoin. Obviously, it's very, very, very rough, and I don't want anyone to quote me on this price prediction. I'm literally just throwing out a number. This is, not really much to it, but another way we could come to a price prediction on Syscoin is looking at the last cycle and saying that, hey, we had a little top out in September. We had a little top out in September. We had a top out in May. We had a top out in late May, early June. And then we started rising in late November, right? And we've started rising in late November. So we have a clear W formation, right? And a clear W formation. And what we could actually do is take the fractal from the same time period in November last cycle, just when we got above the September high. And we could kind of extrapolate that data to the current prices and assume that Syscoin is going to go up to do something like this, right? And that would bring us to a price point of around $1.25. Obviously, fractals aren't meant to be taken too literally. They are fractals. They are extrapolation of previous data, so they're not going to be super precise. But the point is, the long-term trend is upwards. I think we will have a short-term correction at some point, though. As for the Bitcoin pair on Syscoin, we're dramatically lower than we've ever been on this Bitcoin pair, and that's not a problem. You see that with a lot of altcoins, basically every altcoin, actually, that hasn't really moved yet from previous cycles. What we are seeing again, and I'm saying this over and over again, it's the king of W formation. We have a W over here, we have a W over here, and I guess you could say this is some sort of W here, but you'd be pushing it a little bit. And we have another W forming right now. And obviously, when you see a W formation, the right-hand side of a W is always going to be higher. And that ties into the fact that we have the altcoin season coming up in January. And so, look, that's my speculation at least. And so, I'm expecting maybe a little bit of bearish action and then a bit of a boom in January. Not to new all-time highs. I think new all-time highs are unachievable. There's simply way more altcoins in the market, and particularly in the space Syscoin is in. It's flooded with competition now that wasn't particularly there in 2016, 2017, 2018. So I don't think it will get anywhere near its all-time high in the Bitcoin pair. I think it'd be lucky to get to this region here at around 4,000 sats. That's a 4x away, just like the USD pair. Could go a little bit higher, who knows. But I wouldn't be targeting all-time highs, but it certainly is going to have a move to the upside for sure. Some critical resistance zones to look at are around 1,800 sats, and then obviously at around 1,200 sats, which we found resistance at in August 2020. We found resistance at in May this year, and we found resistance at only a couple of months ago, or last month. So we're looking at a few critical resistance zones there. We've got another one here at around 3,100, but ultimately, If I had to guess, and again, this is speculation, I'd probably say 4,000 sats would be the top for Syscoin, maybe even lower. So, look, ultimately, the kind of whole reason of this video was to say that Syscoin is moving against Bitcoin, which is great to see. It's great to see it's having independence. You always like to see that with coins you're holding having independence from Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is a pain, especially when you're trading altcoins. And so when it shows independence, it's showing it's having individual strength, and people are buying it no matter what they think about the current state of the market. So that's great to see, and that's bullish from both a fundamental and a technical perspective. But I don't think that will last. I think that we'll probably, we could continue higher for a little bit, and then, within the next few weeks, probably into early to mid-December, we're going to be correcting on Syscoin, and especially if Bitcoin goes down to 53k, which I'm not 100% decided on yet. I'm looking at 35 cents to 40 cents for a reaccumulation zone if you're interested. I personally won't be buying down there unless I see a clear pattern formation, but if you like Syscoin, that's where you would be buying, 35 cents to 40 cents. And if we do see a trading signal, if we do see a pattern on Syscoin that is favorable in the future, I will definitely let you guys know via YouTube or via Twitter. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.